mighty God, what a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God, what a mighty God we serve.
What a mighty God we serve. What a mighty God.
From the moment when education came to be regarded as distinct from evangelism, and thus the work of the university, not merely an extension of the church, Wake Forest has wrestled with the question of its religious identity and responsibility. Probably no issue in our modern history has been so vexing. While the idea had been around since the mid-1940s, long-range planning began in April 1989. In May 1996, Bill J. Leonard was appointed the school's first dean. Leonard soon began describing the school as students, faculty, and staff continue to describe it today: Christian by tradition, ecumenical in outlook, and Baptist in heritage. In March 1998, the school announced selections for its 14-member Board of Visitors. The first faculty members were named in April 1998. Phyllis Tribble, Associate Dean and Professor of Biblical Studies; Frank Tupper, Professor of Theology; Samuel Weber, Associate Professor of Early Christianity and Spiritual Formation. Additional faculty were hired that October: Jill Craneshaw, Director of Supervised Ministries, and James M. Dunn, Visiting Professor of Christianity and Public Policy. As Dean Leonard said in his inaugural address, this new school seeks to provide not simply instruction, but provocation that stirs up students, challenging them and calling forth from them ideas and issues that help to form their Christian ministry. Learning is always dangerous and difficult to domesticate. Thus, sooner or later, all good instruction involves provocation, pressing us beyond our certainty and ourselves, demanding more than we ever dreamed possible. In August 1999, 19 women and 5 men became the first 24 students to enroll in the program.
Outside of my family, both past and present, my time here in Divinity School was the most formative period in my life.
Well, we brought up what I would think is a baseline commitment to applied Christianity.
I don't think theological education is nearly as effective when it happens in classrooms where all the people are the same.
Dean Leonard came in and took the best of Wake Forest, married it to a postmodern church life to help educate a new generation of men and women to go out and be the face of Christ, whether that's the church or the chaplaincy or the hospital or feeding someone on the street corner with the bus stop.
And so it's hard for me to even put into words the ways that I've been formed and changed by this place, but it's definitely happening. It's a change and a formation that I can feel that is just so present with me right now.
Having a diverse group of people here, and over time that contact, and as they go back and talk to other people, engage with them, you develop relationships, I think, that last beyond the time that you're actually here.
You couldn't have Wake Forest Divinity School without Bill Leonard.
The dean's openness to any question has definitely helped me feel more comfortable asking him and seeking his advice and mentoring, not only with academic things, but life outside of the Div School. He is always willing to pull you in for coffee or lunch or just sit in his office to talk things out.
Several years ago, when Bill called my home in Virginia to tell me the faculty had voted to offer me the New Testament position here, we had a brief conversation, and I was pleased, and we agreed I would call the next day to ask specific questions, to have a more substantive conversation. So I got up the next morning to drive to Chapel Hill, where I had a class to teach, and drove into a really awful ice storm. And I and 40 other people on that country road ended up in the ditch, and I ended up upside down. So it was hours before my car got towed away and I got towed home. I thought, I don't think I can have this conversation today, but I need to call him and see if he's free tomorrow. So I called, and I caught him rushing into a meeting a few minutes late, nice, but saying, could I call you back in an hour? And my recollection is, all I said is, well, would tomorrow be okay? And he must have heard something in my voice, because he absolutely stopped and said, I have time. What happened? And it was my first personal glimpse into the pastoral part of the way Bill has been dean here, how he can go from total high gear to being completely present to someone who's facing something serious.
I was pretty hesitant about the whole thing anyway and applied to school just because I thought I would see, you know, what happened. And he was like, you've got to come here, this is the place. And so his confidence, I guess, was really significant in my decision to come here.
He's a collaborative leader. He likes to lead by consensus. And I think what that means is he's very intent on voice. And so I don't know that he would like it if we said about him, or if I said about him that I had learned to model my leadership style off of his, because he would want, I hope and I believe that he would want us all to develop our own sense of voice and style.
Because whether in a sermon or in teaching or over lunch at the Mexican restaurant, it's very clear that the most important things that he learns and teaches are the stories of people of faith.
To me, it's just it's an outstanding personal relationship. He's someone that I respect. The quiet leadership is very thoughtful.
I would say several things to the dean before he takes this year of sabbatical. The first thing I would say is I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss seeing you in the hallway smiling and running from meeting to meeting and from class to class. I'm going to miss seeing that in Wingate Hall.
Oh, he's not going to retire. I don't believe it. He might not be the dean anymore, and there might be a day when he's not a professor of church history anymore. But the day that he stops preaching and the day that he stops teaching, he will have done something different than retire.
And I'm going to miss those funny jokes in class that keep me laughing.
I guess that I really would like to say thank you to him too, that he just has been a really important presence in my life and in Brad's life and our life together.
In ways that I know I'm not aware, this has cost him a lot too. And the investment that it must have taken, personally, professionally, spiritually, to put a new school together must have been tremendous. And I and many others thank him for doing that.
Omnipotent, he's great, our Lord. Omnipotent, he's great. Omnipotent, he's great. Omnipotent.
As Jesus began his own ministry, he woke up some folk in his own hometown with words from the prophet Isaiah that send us forth tonight. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, he said, anointing me to announce good news to the poor, to proclaim release for prisoners and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the broken victims go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Do you hear the provocation in those words? And the hope? The university's first 20 Master of Divinity degrees were conferred May 20th, 2002. Of these graduates, there were 7 denominational affiliations. As we go forth from this time and this place, Dean Leonard's words remain.
Go now in peace.
And as you're going, know this.
By the power of God, you were created and brought into this world.
By the mercy of God, you have been sustained until this very moment.
By the love of God, fully revealed in Jesus the Christ,
You are being redeemed.
Now and evermore.
Amen.